I'm standing in a hospital room, watching the woman I destroyed slip away from me. The monitors beep steadily, but each sound feels like a countdown. Her eyes are closed, her face peaceful despite the bandages. The doctors say she might not make it through the night. And if she does, if God grants that miracle, she won't remember me. Won't remember us. Won't remember how I shattered everything we built together.
Story based on true events. Names, locations, and some facts have been altered to preserve the privacy of those involved.
My name is Ryan, and this is the story of how I became the worst version of myself, hit rock bottom, and somehow got the chance to rewrite my entire life. If you've ever made a mistake you can't take back, if you've ever wished you could start over with someone you hurt, then you need to hear this. Because what happened to me changed everything I thought I knew about love, faith, and redemption. And it started on the most ordinary day imaginable. I was 26, fresh out of college with a computer science degree, working as a programmer for a mid-sized company in Portland that developed software for retail stores. Nothing glamorous. I'd sit in my cubicle, write code, debug systems, and dream about creating the next big app that would make me rich. The dream every programmer has, right? My life was routine, comfortable, predictable. I'd dated a few girls in college, nothing serious. I wasn't looking for anything permanent. I had my career to focus on, my gaming nights with friends, my comfortable bachelor pad with mismatched furniture and empty pizza boxes. Life was simple. Then came my cousin Marcus's wedding. Marcus was getting married on the coast, in this beautiful beachfront ceremony in Cannon Beach. The kind of wedding you see in movies, with white chairs set up on the sand, an arch covered in flowers, and the Pacific Ocean providing the soundtrack. I almost didn't go. Wedding ceremonies aren't really my thing, you know? All that emotion, all those promises people make when they're high on love and champagne. But family is family, and Mom would have ended my existence if I'd skipped it. I showed up in my best suit, the one I'd bought for job interviews, and took my seat just as the ceremony was starting. That's when I noticed her. She was sitting right next to me, wearing this light blue dress that matched the ocean behind us. Her hair was done up in some complicated style I couldn't name, makeup perfectly applied, and she had this way of sitting, very straight, very proper, like she was raised by someone who cared about posture. Her name was Maya. 24 years old, recently graduated with a degree in early childhood education, working at a daycare center in Eugene. I didn't know any of that yet, of course. At that moment, she was just the attractive woman sitting next to me, smelling faintly of jasmine and sea salt. We didn't speak during the ceremony. We watched Marcus marry his college sweetheart, Sarah, and I'll admit, there was something about seeing him so happy that made me feel a little empty. Like I was missing something I didn't even know I wanted. The reception was held in a tent on the beach, with string lights and a DJ who actually knew how to read a crowd. That's when Marcus found me at the bar, grinning like an idiot. Which, I guess, is how you're supposed to look on your wedding day. "Ryan, you made it!" He pulled me into a hug, then leaned in close. "See that girl you were sitting next to? Maya? She's Sarah's friend from college, single." He winked. "You're welcome." I rolled my eyes, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested. Marcus introduced us properly about an hour into the reception. Maya was drinking white wine, standing near the edge of the tent where the ocean breeze could reach. Up close, she was even prettier, with these expressive brown eyes that seemed to take in everything. "Maya, this is my cousin Ryan." "Ryan, Maya." We shook hands. Hers was small, warm, soft. "Nice to meet you," she said, and her voice had this quality to it, like she was used to talking to children, patient and kind. "You too. Beautiful wedding." "It really is. Sarah's been planning this for over a year." We made small talk. The kind of conversation you have with a stranger at a wedding when you're both trying to figure out if there's anything there. Where are you from? What do you do? How do you know the bride and groom? All the standard questions. Then the DJ announced the first dance, and couples flooded the makeshift dance floor. Marcus and Sarah swayed in the center, lost in their own world, and I made a decision that would change my entire life. "Want to dance?" Maya looked surprised, then smiled. "Sure." We moved onto the floor, and I put one hand on her waist, took her other hand in mine, and we swayed to some love song I can't remember now. She fit perfectly in my arms, and there was this moment where our eyes met, and I felt something. Not love. I'm not going to pretend it was love at first sight, because it wasn't. But it was interest, curiosity, the sense that this person might be worth getting to know. After the dance, we exchanged Instagram handles. That's how it works now, right? No phone numbers, just social media. Follow each other. See if the interest holds once the wedding magic wears off. The next day, I was scrolling through my feed when I saw that Maya had liked 3 of my photos. So I liked 3 of hers. Then I commented on a picture she'd posted from the wedding. She commented back. And before I knew it, we were in each other's DMs, having actual conversations. She was funny, smart. She sent me voice messages instead of texts sometimes, and I loved the sound of her voice. She told me about the kids at her daycare, about the little boy who insisted on wearing a cape every day because he was convinced he was a superhero. She told me about her dreams of one day opening her own preschool, creating a place where kids could learn through play instead of rigid structure. I told her about my work, about the frustrations of dealing with clients who didn't understand technology, about my dream of creating my own startup someday. We talked about movies, music, books. We talked about our families, our childhoods, our favorite foods. 2 weeks of messaging, and then I asked her out. Want to meet up this weekend? Maybe grab coffee? There was a pause, those 3 little dots appearing and disappearing, and I felt nervous in a way I hadn't since high school. How about the beach, where we met? I grinned at my phone. I like the way you think. We planned it for the weekend. Drive up Saturday morning, spend the day getting to know each other better, head home Sunday afternoon. We each booked separate rooms at a little hotel near the beach. Nothing presumptuous, nothing complicated. Just 2 people spending time together. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and warm temperatures. I drove up the coast with my windows down, music playing, feeling more excited than I'd felt in years. Maya texted me when she arrived at the hotel, and we met in the lobby. She was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, sunglasses perched on her head. She looked different from the wedding, more relaxed, more herself, and just as beautiful. "Hey," she said, smiling. "Hey yourself. Ready?" We spent the morning walking on the beach, our shoes off, letting the cold water wash over our feet. We talked easily, like we'd known each other longer than 3 weeks. She told me about her last relationship, a 2-year situation that had ended 3 months earlier. He was unfaithful, she said, looking out at the ocean. With a coworker. I found out from a friend who saw them together. It destroyed me. Not just the betrayal, but the lying. Looking back, there were so many signs, and I ignored all of them because I wanted to believe he loved me. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "It's okay. I'm better off without him." I couldn't stay in that relationship once I knew. Trust is everything to me. Without it, what do you have? I nodded, not knowing then how those words would haunt me later. We had lunch at a little seafood place with outdoor seating, where we could watch the tourists and locals pass by. The conversation flowed easily, moving from topic to topic without any awkward silences. She laughed at my jokes, even the bad ones. I loved the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. The afternoon passed in a blur of sunshine and good conversation. We walked along the shops, looked at art galleries, bought ice cream cones that dripped down our hands in the heat. It felt natural, easy, right. That evening, after a light dinner, we decided to walk on the beach again. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. The temperature had dropped, and there was a pleasant breeze coming off the ocean. The sound of waves breaking on the shore created a rhythm that felt almost hypnotic. We walked in comfortable silence for a while, and then Maya stopped, turning to face the water. The full moon was rising on the horizon, huge and luminous. "This is perfect," she said softly. I stood beside her, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. "It really is." She turned to look at me, and in the fading light, her face was beautiful. Without thinking too much about it, without calculating or planning, I leaned in and kissed her. She kissed me back. It wasn't dramatic or earth-shattering. It was soft, sweet, a little tentative. The kind of first kiss that feels like a promise of something good to come. When we pulled apart, she was smiling. "I was hoping you'd do that," she said. "I was hoping you'd want me to." We kissed again, and then we walked back to the hotel hand in hand, the moon lighting our path. That weekend set the pattern for the next 6 months. We saw each other every weekend, alternating who made the 2-hour drive between Eugene and Portland. We'd explore new restaurants, watch movies, take hikes, or just stay in and cook together. She introduced me to her friends. I introduced her to mine. We posted photos together on social media, made inside jokes, sent each other good morning texts. It was the healthiest relationship I'd ever had. 6 months in, I asked her to move in with me. We were sitting on my couch, watching some Netflix show neither of us was really paying attention to, when I said, "What if you moved here? To Portland? You could find a job, move in with me. We could really do this." She pulled back to look at my face, trying to figure out if I was serious. "Ryan, that's a big step. I know, but I'm serious. I want this. I want you here." She was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her thinking through all the implications. My family won't like it. They'll say it's too fast. Is it too fast? She smiled slowly. No, I don't think it is. You're nothing like my ex. You're kind, you're supportive, you actually listen when I talk. I want this too. 2 weeks later, she found a job at a daycare in Portland. A month after that, she moved in. The first 3 months were good. Better than good. We fell into an easy routine. We'd both work during the day, come home, cook dinner together, watch TV, go to bed. Weekends we'd explore the city, visit farmers markets, try new breweries. We were happy. But then something started to shift. It was subtle at first. I'd had a bad day at work, came home stressed, and snapped at her over something small. She looked hurt, but I apologized, and we moved on. Then it happened again, and again. I was getting more irritable, more quick to anger. Work was stressing me out, my boss was demanding, projects were running over schedule, and I was bringing all that frustration home. And Maya was there, an easy target for my bad moods. I stopped helping around the house. When I got home, I'd grab a beer, sit on the couch, and zone out in front of the TV or my phone. Maya would cook dinner, clean up, do the laundry, and I'd just sit there. She'd ask me to help, and I'd say I would, but then I wouldn't move. I was tired, I'd say. I'd had a long day. I'd help tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. I became controlling. If she went out with friends, I'd text her constantly, asking where she was, who she was with, when she'd be home. If she didn't respond fast enough, I'd get angry. I told myself I was just worried about her, that it was because I cared. But really, I was being possessive, jealous, toxic. Maya tried to talk to me about it. She'd say, gently, that I was changing, that she was worried about me, about us. I'd brush her off, tell her she was overreacting, that everything was fine. Everything wasn't fine. 4 months after she moved in, it happened. I'd had an especially bad day. A client had rejected our work, blamed me specifically, even though the problem was their constantly changing requirements. My boss had called me into his office, chewed me out for 20 minutes, threatened my job. I left work fuming, stopped at the store, bought a six-pack, and started drinking on the drive home. By the time I got home, I'd finished 3 beers, and I was in a foul mood. Maya was in the kitchen, cooking dinner, something with chicken and vegetables. The smell should have been inviting, but I was too angry to appreciate it. "Hey," she said, turning to smile at me. "How was your day?" "Don't want to talk about it." Her smile faded. "Okay, well, dinner will be ready in about 20 minutes. I grunted, grabbed another beer from the fridge, and went to sit on the couch. She followed me. "Ryan, we need to talk." "Not now, Maya." "Yes, now. You're drinking too much. You're angry all the time. You don't help with anything around here. This isn't working." I stood up, and I was taller than her, bigger than her, and I saw her take a step back. "I work all day to pay for this place, and you're going to lecture me? I work too, and I do everything else. The cooking, the cleaning, the laundry. You just sit there like I'm your servant or something. Maybe if you didn't nag me all the time, I'd want to help. I'm not nagging. I'm asking for basic partnership." And then I did something I still hate myself for. Something that changed everything. In a moment of rage, fueled by alcohol and frustration and my own weakness, I raised my hand and hit her across the face. The sound of the impact seemed to echo in the sudden silence. Maya stood there, her hand on her cheek, tears welling in her eyes. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me, like I was a stranger who'd invaded her boyfriend's body. "Maya, I don't." Her voice was quiet, shaking. "Just don't." She went into the bedroom and closed the door. I heard her crying, and the sound cut through my anger like a knife. I stood there in the living room, staring at my hand like it belonged to someone else, and slowly realized what I'd done. I'd become my worst fear. I'd become an aggressor. I'd hurt the woman I loved. I went to the bedroom door, knocked softly. "Maya, please." "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. It'll never happen again, I swear." She didn't answer. I slept on the couch that night, and when I woke up, she was gone, left for work without saying goodbye. I sent her a dozen texts, all variations of the same apology. She didn't respond until that evening. "We'll talk when I get home." When she arrived, her eyes were red from crying. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, and the distance between us felt like miles. "That can never happen again," she said. "It won't. I promise. I'll change. I'll do better. You need help, Ryan. This anger, it's not normal. I know. I'll work on it. Please don't leave." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see her weighing her options, deciding whether to stay or go. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, but one more incident, and I'm done. I mean it. There won't be. I swear." But here's the thing about promises made by broken people. We mean them in the moment. We genuinely believe we'll change. But without actually doing the work, without addressing the real issues, those promises are just words. And words are cheap. A year into living together, something happened at work that would set everything else in motion. We hired a new intern. Her name was Jessica, 22 years old, fresh out of college, eager to learn, and honestly, really attractive. She had that young energy, that enthusiasm that made everything seem new and exciting. And I noticed. I told myself it was harmless. Just appreciation. Just noticing. Everyone notices attractive people, right? It doesn't mean anything. But it did mean something. Jessica was assigned to shadow me for her first few weeks, learning our systems, our processes. We spent a lot of time together, and I found myself looking forward to those moments. Found myself laughing a little harder at her jokes. Found myself staying late at work, telling Maya I had deadlines when really I just wanted to keep talking to Jessica. It was a Friday when it happened. The company was having a happy hour at a bar downtown, one of those team-building things that everyone complains about but secretly enjoys. Maya was supposed to come, but at the last minute, one of the kids at her daycare had an emergency, and she had to stay late to help the family. "Go without me," she said on the phone. "Have fun. I'll see you at home." So I went, and Jessica was there. We got drinks, talked, laughed. The bar was crowded, loud, and at some point, we ended up in a corner by ourselves, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something sweet and floral. "I should probably head out," she said around 9 o'clock. "I took the bus here, and the last one leaves in 20 minutes. "I can give you a ride," I said. The words came out before I'd really thought about them. "It's no problem. On my way home." It wasn't on my way home, not even close. But she didn't know that. "Really? That would be amazing. Thank you." We left together, and I opened the car door for her, something I'd stopped doing for Maya months ago. We drove through the city, music playing softly, and the conversation continued. She told me about her apartment, her roommate, her plans for the future. I told her things I shouldn't have, about how stressed I was, about how Maya and I were fighting, about how I sometimes felt trapped. And then, instead of driving to her apartment, I turned onto a side street. A quiet street with no traffic, no lights, just darkness and the sound of rain starting to fall. "Where are we?" she asked. "Just give me a minute. I need to tell you something." I don't know what I was planning to say. Maybe I didn't have a plan at all. But when I looked at her, sitting there in my passenger seat, young and interested, and everything that felt missing from my life, I leaned over and kissed her. And she kissed me back. What happened next? I won't describe in detail. But in that car, on that dark street, I made a choice that would destroy everything. I was unfaithful to Maya. I broke the one rule she'd made crystal clear, the one line she'd said she'd never forgive. Afterward, we didn't talk much. I drove Jessica home, and she got out of the car without looking back. I sat there for a long time, my hands on the steering wheel, realizing what I'd done. When I got home, Maya was asleep. I showered, got into bed beside her, and lay there staring at the ceiling, hating myself. The next morning, I acted like nothing had happened. What else could I do? Confess? Lose her? I convinced myself it was a one-time thing, a mistake. It would never happen again. But it did happen again. Jessica and I started messaging each other outside of work. Nothing explicit at first, just friendly conversation. But it escalated. We'd meet for coffee before work, grab lunch together. And yes, we hooked up again. Multiple times. In my car, in her apartment when her roommate was gone, anywhere we could find privacy. I didn't love her. I want to be clear about that. It wasn't love. It was escape. It was excitement. It was the feeling of being wanted by someone who didn't know all my flaws yet. Maya started to suspect something. She'd see Jessica liking my social media posts, commenting on my photos. She'd ask who Jessica was, and I'd brush it off. Just a coworker. Just the intern. Nothing to worry about. But Maya wasn't stupid. One night, while I was in the shower, she went through my phone. I don't know how she got past my password. Maybe she'd seen me type it in. Maybe she just guessed. But she found everything. The messages, the deleted photos I'd forgotten to permanently erase, the proof of everything I'd been doing. When I got out of the shower, she was sitting on the bed, my phone in her hands, tears streaming down her face. "Who is she, Ryan?" My stomach dropped. "Maya? I can explain. Who is she?" "She's nobody. It's not what you think." She held up the phone, showing me the messages. "Really? Because these messages say something very different. These messages say you've been seeing her for months. These messages say you've been lying to me every single day." I didn't know what to say. There was no explanation that would make this okay. No excuse that would undo what I'd done. "I want you to leave," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Maya, please. Get out. Get out of this apartment right now. This is my apartment. I don't care." She stood up, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Pure rage. "You cheated on me. You lied to me. You hit me. You promised to change, and you just got worse. I'm done. We're done." "Where will you go?" "I'll figure it out. I found a place near my work, but it won't be available for 60 days. So I'll stay here until then. But we're not together. We're nothing. I'll sleep on the couch. You stay away from me." "Maya, I'm so sorry. I'll end things with her. It'll never happen again. Please give me another chance." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Another chance? Like the chance I gave you after you hit me? Like all the chances I gave you when you ignored me, controlled me, made me feel small? No. No more chances. You showed me who you really are, and I finally believe you." She grabbed a blanket and pillow and walked out of the bedroom. I heard her settle on the couch, and I sat on the edge of the bed, the full weight of what I'd done finally hitting me. I'd lost her, and I deserved to lose her. The next Monday at work, I pulled Jessica aside. We went to the parking garage, away from everyone else, and I told her Maya had found out. "She knows everything. We're done. She and I are breaking up." Jessica's eyes lit up, and I realized with horror that she thought this was good news. "So we can be together now? Officially?" "No, Jessica, no. This was a mistake. All of it. I love Maya. I want to fix things with her." Her expression changed immediately. The hopeful smile vanished, replaced by something cold. "A mistake? I'm a mistake? That's not what I meant. You used me. You said you were unhappy with her. You said you wanted something different. And now you're just, what, throwing me away?" "Jessica, I'm sorry. But we both knew this was just, it wasn't serious. I have a boyfriend, Ryan. I risked my relationship for you, and now you're telling me it meant nothing?" I felt sick. "You have a boyfriend?" "Of course I do. Did you think I was just waiting around for you? You're not that special." We stared at each other, two people who'd made horrible choices, standing in a parking garage, realizing the damage we'd caused. "I think we should keep our distance," I said finally. She laughed. "Oh, we're definitely keeping our distance. Because I'm going to HR. I'm going to tell them you took advantage of me. That you offered me a ride and then forced yourself on me. That I was scared and didn't know what to do." "What? Jessica? That's not what happened." "Prove it. It's your word against mine. And I'm the young female intern, and you're the older male employee with power over my career. Who do you think they'll believe? You can't do this. Watch me." She walked away, her heels clicking on the concrete, leaving me standing there alone. 2 hours later, my boss called me into his office. HR was there. Jessica had filed a formal complaint, claiming I'd harassed her, made unwanted advances, created a hostile work environment. She was crying, playing the victim perfectly. I tried to explain, tried to tell them the truth, but they didn't want to hear it. The company was terrified of a scandal, of this hitting the news, of losing business. It was easier to just get rid of me. "We're letting you go, effective immediately. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. Security will escort you out. You're firing me? Without even investigating? We've investigated enough. Jessica's account is credible and detailed. We can't risk having you here. I was walked out of the building like a criminal, my stuff in a cardboard box, everyone staring. My career, gone. My reputation, destroyed. And all because of choices I'd made. When I got home, Maya was at work. I sat in the living room, surrounded by boxes, my phone in my hand, and I started to cry. Really cry, for the first time since I was a kid. I'd lost everything, my job, my relationship, my dignity, and I'd done it all to myself. The first week was the worst. I didn't leave the apartment except to buy more beer. I'd wake up late, already feeling hungover, and start drinking again. Maya wouldn't talk to me. She'd come home from work, go straight to the couch where she was sleeping, and ignore me completely. I tried to apologize, tried to explain. She wouldn't even look at me. By the second week, I was drinking from the moment I woke up. I wasn't looking for jobs, wasn't doing anything productive, just sitting in my own misery, drowning in alcohol and self-pity. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. The apartment felt like a prison. Maya's silent presence was suffocating. I needed to get out, to go somewhere, anywhere. So I left around midnight, with no destination in mind, just walking through the empty streets of Portland. I found a bar that was still open, a dive place with flickering neon signs, and a bartender who didn't ask questions. I sat at the counter and ordered whiskey, then another, and another. At some point, they cut me off, told me I needed to leave. I stumbled outside and the world was spinning. I couldn't remember where I'd parked. Couldn't remember how to get home. Couldn't remember anything except that I'd ruined my entire life. I ended up in a vacant lot, overgrown with weeds and trash. There was a broken fence, some old tires, and a surprising amount of tall grass for being in the city. I lay down in that grass, staring up at the stars that I could barely see through the light pollution, and everything went black. When I woke up, the sun was bright overhead, burning my eyes. My mouth tasted like death. My head pounded like someone was hitting it with a hammer, and when I reached for my phone, it wasn't there. Neither was my wallet. I'd been robbed while I was passed out. They'd taken everything except my house keys, probably because they were in my pocket and harder to reach. I sat up slowly, taking inventory. My phone, gone. My wallet, gone. All my cash and credit cards, gone. I was alone in a vacant lot in the middle of Portland, hungover and broke and pathetic. I stood up, brushed the dirt and grass off my clothes, and started walking. I didn't know where I was going. Just away, away from that lot, away from my apartment, away from everything. And then I heard singing, voices raised in harmony, coming from a small building up ahead. A church. Not one of those massive megachurches, but a small neighborhood place with peeling paint and a simple wooden cross above the door. The doors were open. The singing was beautiful. And some invisible force I still can't explain pulled me toward it. And words are cheap. I walked into that church looking like exactly what I was, a mess. My clothes were dirty, my hair was disheveled, I probably smelled like alcohol and regret. But nobody turned to stare. Nobody looked at me with judgment. They just kept singing, and I found a seat in the back row, trying to make myself invisible. The pastor was a man in his 50s, with graying hair and kind eyes. He wore jeans and a button-down shirt, nothing fancy. When the singing stopped, he began to speak, and his voice was warm, conversational, like he was talking to friends rather than preaching at a congregation. "This morning," he said, "I want to talk about a man who thought he had everything figured out. He had a good job, a family, respect in his community, but he was living a lie. He was cruel to the people who loved him. He made choices that hurt others, and one day he lost everything. His job, his family, his home. He was left with nothing but his own guilt and shame. I felt like he was talking directly to me, like somehow he knew exactly what I'd done, what I was going through. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom," the pastor continued. "Sometimes that's where we finally look up. Sometimes we have to lose everything before we're ready to find what really matters." This man, broken and alone, cried out to God, and God answered. Not by giving him back what he'd lost, not by erasing his mistakes, but by offering him something better: forgiveness, transformation, a new beginning. Tears started rolling down my face. I couldn't stop them. They just came, along with something that felt like my chest was cracking open. The pastor quoted a verse, something about how God's grace is sufficient, how his strength is made perfect in weakness. I don't remember the exact words, but I remember how they made me feel. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't beyond saving. When the service ended, I sat there while people filed out. I couldn't move. The pastor noticed me and walked over, sitting down in the pew beside me. "First time here?" he asked gently. I nodded, unable to speak. "You okay, son?" And then it all came pouring out. Everything. The cheating, the aggression, the drinking, losing my job, losing Maya. I told this stranger things I'd never told anyone, and he just listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't judge. Just listened with the kind of attention that made me feel like I mattered. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Ryan, you've done some terrible things. I'm not going to pretend you haven't. But that doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It means you're a broken person who made broken choices. And the beautiful thing about God is that he specializes in fixing broken things." "I don't deserve to be fixed," I said. "None of us do. That's the point. Grace isn't something we earn. It's something we receive. The question is, are you ready to receive it?" I looked at him. This man who didn't know me, who had no reason to care about my problems. I don't know how. It starts with surrender. You stop trying to fix yourself, stop trying to control everything, and you say, "God, I can't do this on my own. I need you." That's it. That's where it begins. Right there, in that small church, with sunlight streaming through the simple windows, I did something I'd never done before. I prayed. Not just words, but a real prayer, from a real place of desperation and hope. I accepted Jesus as my Savior. I asked for forgiveness. I asked for help to become someone better. It wasn't dramatic. There was no lightning bolt, no miraculous feeling of instant transformation. But something did shift inside me, something small but real. Like a door opening in a dark room, letting in the first bit of light. The pastor gave me his number, invited me to come back, to join their Bible study group. He didn't lecture me about what I needed to do. He just offered connection, community, a path forward. When I left that church, I still didn't have my phone or wallet. I still had all the same problems waiting for me at home. But I had something I hadn't had when I walked in: hope. I made it home eventually, and Maya was there, getting ready for work. She looked at me, took in my disheveled appearance, and for the first time in weeks, she looked concerned rather than angry. "Where were you?" she asked. "I went out last night. Got robbed. Lost my phone and wallet." Her eyes widened. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" "No, I was passed out. Didn't even know it happened until I woke up this morning." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see the war happening inside her. Part of her still cared. Part of her wanted to help. But the other part remembered everything I'd done, and that part won. "You need to get that together," she said finally. "Cancel your cards, file a police report, get a new phone." "I will. Maya, I went to a church this morning." She paused, her hand on the door. "A church?" "Yeah, I don't know why." I walked in, and the pastor was talking about second chances, about transformation. And I think I need that. I think I need to change, really change this time. She looked at me with something that might have been pity. "I hope you do, Ryan. For your sake, not mine. Because we're still done. That hasn't changed." And she left for work. The next few weeks were hard. I spent my days going to the church, attending Bible study groups, meeting with the pastor. I learned about scripture, about prayer, about what it actually meant to follow a faith instead of just claiming one. I stopped drinking completely, not because someone told me to, but because I realized alcohol had been my way of avoiding everything I didn't want to face. I started looking for jobs again, but the market was tough, and explaining why I'd been terminated from my last position was nearly impossible. I applied to dozens of positions, got a handful of interviews, and was rejected every time. Maya and I lived like roommates. She'd come home, heat up dinner, eat in her room, and I'd respect her space. I'd leave notes sometimes, apologies I'd written out, trying to express things I couldn't say to her face. She never responded to them, but she didn't throw them away either. I'd see them on the counter, folded up, and I'd wonder if she read them. I tried talking to her one evening, about a week after my church experience. She was on the couch, reading a book, and I sat in the chair across from her. "Maya, can we talk?" She looked up, her expression guarded. "What about?" "About us. about what I did. I know I can't undo it, but I want you to know that I'm different now. I'm really trying to change. I'm going to church, studying the Bible, working on myself. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not the same person who hurt you." She closed her book slowly. "Ryan, I'm glad you're getting help. Truly. But it doesn't change what happened. You didn't just cheat on me. You hit me. You controlled me. You made me feel small and worthless. And then you betrayed me in the worst way possible. The fact that you're going to church now doesn't erase any of that. I know. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just asking if maybe, someday, you could forgive me. If we could try again." "No," her voice was firm. "We can't. I don't trust you. I don't even know you anymore. The Ryan I fell in love with on that beach, the man who was kind and attentive and made me laugh, that person doesn't exist. Or maybe he never did. Maybe I just saw what I wanted to see. He did exist. He does exist. I just lost him for a while. Well, I hope you find him again. But it won't be with me. In 45 days, I'm moving out, and we're never going to be together again. You need to accept that." Her words hurt, but they were fair. I had no right to expect anything from her. So I nodded, stood up, and went to my room. The days passed slowly. I continued going to church, and the community there became my lifeline. People who barely knew me offered support, encouragement, accountability. I joined a men's Bible study group that met on Tuesday nights, where we'd talk about struggles and victories, about trying to live better lives in a world that made it so easy to fail. I was 6 weeks without a job when I got an email that changed everything. A company in Lisbon, Portugal, was looking for a remote programmer. They'd found my resume online, liked my experience, and wanted to interview me. I was honest with them about why I'd left my last job, framed it as a misunderstanding, and apparently they either believed me or didn't care. 3 days later, they offered me the position. Remote work, good salary, flexible hours. I'd be working Portuguese hours, which meant unusual schedule, but I didn't care. I had a job again. I thanked God. Actually, thanked Him on my knees in my bedroom with tears running down my face. It felt like confirmation that I was on the right path, that maybe redemption was possible. I told Maya that night. She was genuinely happy for me, and for a brief moment, things felt almost normal between us. "That's great, Ryan. Really. I'm glad things are working out for you. Thank you. And I want you to know, I'm going to use some of this money to pay you back for everything. For the months you've been carrying more than your share of rent, for the damage I caused. I want to make things right, however I can." She looked surprised. "You don't have to do that. I want to. You deserve it." We almost smiled at each other. Almost. But the countdown continued. 30 days until she'd leave. 20 days. 10 days. I kept trying to be the person she deserved, kept hoping she'd see the changes and reconsider. But she never wavered. She was done, and nothing I did would change that. Then, 5 days before she was supposed to move out, everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning. Maya had left early for work, earlier than usual. I was in my home office, on a video call with my new team in Portugal, when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Is this Ryan Chen?" "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Dr. Martinez from Providence Hospital. I'm calling about Maya Torres. She's been in an accident. You're listed as her emergency contact." My heart stopped. "What happened? Is she okay?" "She was in a car accident on Highway 26. Another driver fell asleep at the wheel and hit her head on. She's alive, but she's in critical condition. You should come to the hospital immediately." I don't remember the drive to the hospital. I don't remember parking. I just remember running through the emergency room doors, giving Maya's name, being directed to the ICU. A doctor met me outside her room. Dr. Martinez, I assumed, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a gentle manner. "Mr. Chen?" "Yes. How is she? Can I see her?" "She's stable, but it's serious. She suffered significant head trauma in the collision. We've induced a coma to reduce brain swelling. The next 24 to 48 hours are critical. We won't know the full extent of the damage until she wakes up." "If she wakes up," I said, the words barely coming out. "We're hopeful. But yes, there are no guarantees." She let me into the room, and what I saw broke something inside me. Maya was lying in the hospital bed, tubes and wires everywhere, machines beeping and humming. Her face was bruised, bandaged. She looked so small, so fragile. I pulled a chair up beside her bed and took her hand. It was warm, at least. Proof she was still here. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything. Please don't leave. Please stay. I know you hate me. I know you'll never forgive me. But please, just stay. The world needs you. Those kids at the daycare need you. Your mom needs you. I need you," I thought but didn't say. I stayed there all day, holding her hand, praying in a way I'd never prayed before. Not the polite prayers I'd learned at church, but desperate, raw pleas. Bargaining with God like he was someone I could negotiate with. "Please, God, please don't take her. I know I don't deserve to ask you for anything. I know I've done terrible things, but she doesn't deserve this. She's good, she's kind, she helps people. Please, please let her live. I'll do anything. I'll never drink again. I'll dedicate my life to serving you. Just please, let her live." Maya's mother arrived around 6 p.m., having driven from Eugene as fast as she could. She looked at me with confusion. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" "I'm her emergency contact. The hospital called me." She looked like she wanted to say something, probably about how we weren't together anymore, but the situation was too serious for that discussion. We sat together in that room, watching Maya breathe, waiting for any sign of improvement. Days passed. Maya remained in the coma. I barely left the hospital, sleeping in uncomfortable chairs, eating vending machine food, existing in a state of suspended terror. Her mother stayed too, and slowly, other family members came. Her sister, her aunt, her cousins. They were all polite to me, but I could feel their questions. Why was I there? Didn't Maya leave me? I didn't care what they thought. I just needed her to wake up. On the 4th day, I made a promise to God. A real promise, the kind you make when you're desperate and broken and willing to give anything. "God, if you let her live, if you let her wake up and be okay, I'll never drink again. Not a drop. For the rest of my life, I'll dedicate myself to becoming the man she deserved from the beginning. I'll use this second chance, if you give it to me, to be better, to do better. Please, please let her live." On the 7th day, she woke up. I was in the cafeteria, forcing myself to eat something, when a nurse found me. "She's awake. The doctor wants to see you." I ran back to her room. Dr. Martinez was there, along with Maya's mother, and Maya was sitting up slightly, looking confused and disoriented. "Maya," I said, moving toward the bed. She looked at me, and my heart sank. There was no recognition in her eyes, no anger, no love, no memory, just confusion. "Who are you?" she asked. Dr. Martinez put a hand on my arm. "Can I speak with you outside?" We stepped into the hallway, and she explained what I was already beginning to understand. Maya has retrograde amnesia. The trauma to her brain has affected her memory. Specifically, she's lost approximately the last 2 years. She doesn't remember moving to Portland, changing jobs, or her relationship with you. Her most recent memories are from her life in Eugene, before she met you. Will she get those memories back? It's impossible to say. Sometimes memory returns gradually. Sometimes it doesn't return at all. We'll know more with time. But for now, she genuinely doesn't know you. I stood there in that hospital hallway, processing what this meant. Maya didn't remember me. Didn't remember us meeting at the wedding, our first kiss on the beach, moving in together. Didn't remember the good times or the bad times. Didn't remember me cheating, hitting her, destroying our relationship. She didn't remember any of it. Part of me felt relief. The guilt, the shame, the constant reminder of my failures, all of that was erased from her mind. But a bigger part felt something else. Grief. Because all the good memories were gone too. Everything we'd built, every moment we'd shared, wiped away like they'd never happened. I went back into the room. Maya was talking to her mother, asking questions about where she was, what had happened, why she was in Portland. "Mom, who is this?" she asked, pointing at me. Her mother looked at me, then at Maya. "This is Ryan. He's your boyfriend." Maya studied me with curious eyes. "My boyfriend? Since when?" "About a year," her mother said, simplifying the timeline. "Huh." Maya smiled slightly. "You're handsome. Did we meet in Eugene?" "Actually, we met at a wedding," I said carefully. "My cousin's wedding, on the coast." "That sounds romantic." "It was," I said, my voice tight with emotion. Over the next few days, doctors ran tests, evaluated her cognitive function, and determined that while her memory was affected, everything else seemed intact. Her motor skills, her language, her reasoning, all normal. Just a 2-year gap in her memory. They kept her in the hospital for another week, monitoring her recovery. And during that time, I was there constantly. Her mother was too, and together we helped her understand her current life. We told her about her job at the daycare in Portland, about her apartment near her work that she'd been about to move into, about the accident. We didn't tell her about us breaking up. We didn't tell her about my infidelity, my aggression, any of the bad things. Her mother looked at me one day and said quietly, "She doesn't need to know about that right now. Let her recover first." I nodded, grateful, but also aware that I was living on borrowed time. Eventually, Maya would need to know the truth. But for now, she believed we were a happy couple, and I was going to use whatever time I had to become worthy of that belief. 2 months after the accident, Maya was released from the hospital with a clean bill of health. Physically, she was fine. The brain swelling had gone down, her injuries had healed, and she was walking without assistance. The only lingering effect was the memory loss, which doctors said might be permanent. I made a decision then, one that surprised everyone, including myself. I decided to move to Eugene, to Maya's hometown, where her mother and family could help care for her, where familiar surroundings might help her feel more comfortable as she adjusted to her new reality. Since I worked remotely, location didn't matter. I could work from anywhere. So I found a small house to rent, not far from her mother's place, and packed up my Portland apartment. Maya stayed with her mother initially. Her family thought that was best, having her in a place where she could have constant care and support. But I was there every day. I'd work my Portuguese hours, which meant starting in the early afternoon and working into the evening, and I'd spend my mornings with Maya. I learned to cook. Really cook, not just heating up frozen dinners or ordering takeout. I bought cookbooks, watched YouTube videos, practiced constantly. I learned that Maya loved Italian food, so I specialized in that. I bought a pasta maker and learned to make fresh pasta from scratch. Fettuccine, ravioli, linguine, all of it. I perfected sauces, learned about the right wine pairings, studied the science of baking. Every weekend, I'd invite Maya to my place for dinner, just the two of us. And I'd cook for her, elaborate meals that I'd spent all week planning. I'd set the table nicely, light candles, play soft music. I was courting her all over again, but this time I was doing it right. I left notes for her. Little messages hidden in her car, in her coat pockets, tucked into books she was reading. "You're amazing, Maya. I'm so grateful you're in my life. Thank you for giving me a chance to show you who I really am. Every day with you is a gift I don't deserve but will treasure forever." She'd find these notes and smile, and slowly, I could see her falling for me, not remembering our past, but creating new feelings, new connections. It was like having a second chance, except I knew all her preferences, all her quirks, everything she loved and hated. I knew she preferred tea to coffee in the mornings. I knew she loved long walks but hated running. I knew she was allergic to strawberries but loved blueberries. I knew her favorite color, her favorite songs, the movies that made her cry. I used all of that knowledge to be the perfect boyfriend, the one I should have been from the start. 2 months into this new life, Maya decided she wanted to move in with me. Her mother was hesitant, worried it was too fast, but Maya insisted. "Mom, I know it seems quick, but I feel safe with him. I feel happy, and I want to have my own life again, not just live in your spare room." So we set a date. The following Saturday, she'd move in, and I wanted to make it special. I wanted to show her how much she meant to me, how serious I was about doing things right this time. I spent the entire Friday preparing. I set up the backyard with string lights, creating a canopy of warm light overhead. I brought out a small table, covered it with a white tablecloth, set it with cloth napkins, wine glasses, a candle in a brass holder. I made everything perfect. For dinner, I prepared fettuccine with a creamy truffle and mushroom sauce, sautéed asparagus with garlic and lemon, and fresh bruschetta with tomatoes and basil. I opened a bottle of good wine, though I only poured it for her. I'd kept my promise. Not a drop of alcohol had passed my lips since that prayer in the hospital. I hired a violinist, a music student from the local college who was happy to make some extra money. He'd arrive after dinner, play for 20 minutes, then leave. Saturday evening, I picked Maya up from her mother's house at 7 p.m. She was wearing a blue dress, simple but elegant, her hair styled, makeup done. She looked beautiful, like she had at the wedding where we met. "Where are we going?" she asked as I opened the car door for her. "You'll see." I drove us to my house, opened her door, took her hand, and led her around to the backyard. When she saw the setup, she gasped, "Ryan, this is beautiful. Only the best for you." We sat down, and I brought out the food. She took her first bite of the fettuccine and closed her eyes, savoring it. "Oh my God, this is incredible." "Did you really make this?" "I did. I've been practicing." "Practicing?" "Ryan, this is restaurant quality. Better than restaurant quality." We ate slowly, talking and laughing. She told me about the kids at her daycare, about the little girl who'd drawn her a picture that day. I told her about a funny bug in my code that had taken me hours to figure out. After dinner, the violinist appeared, as planned, and began to play. Soft, romantic melodies that floated through the cool evening air. Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I can't believe you did all this. You deserve it. You deserve everything." For dessert, I brought out Belgian chocolate mousse I'd made that morning. Rich, smooth, exactly sweet enough. She ate every bite. When the violinist finished and left, Maya looked at me with such affection that I felt my chest tighten. "I've never had anyone treat me like this," she said, "like I'm something precious." "You are precious. To me, to your family, to everyone who knows you. I'm so lucky to have you." "But you're not lucky," I thought. "You don't know what I did to you. You don't know who I really was." "I have one more surprise," I said, "but you'll need to trust me." "Of course I trust you." Those words cut deep, but I smiled. I pulled out a blindfold, soft fabric, and gently tied it over her eyes. "What are you doing?" "Just trust me." I took her hand and led her into the house, down the hall to the spare bedroom. I'd been working on this room for weeks, preparing it for this moment. I turned on the lights, closed the door, and removed the blindfold. Maya looked around, and her hand went to her mouth. I'd turned the entire room into a memory gallery. One wall was dedicated to photos of Maya before she met me, pictures I'd gathered from her mother and social media. Young Maya, teenage Maya, college Maya, happy and smiling and full of life. Next to those photos, I'd written in elegant lettering, "This is who you were before we met." The adjacent wall showed photos from the wedding where we met. Maya in her blue dress, me in my suit, us dancing together. I'd even found the selfie we'd taken that night, both of us grinning. "This is the day we met, my cousin's wedding. You were the most beautiful woman there." The third wall showed our progression. Photos from our beach weekend, from our various dates, from happy moments we'd shared. I'd printed out screenshots of our text conversations, the sweet messages we'd sent each other early on. I'd included the receipt from the hotel where we'd stayed on the coast. This is us falling in love. And then, the fourth wall. This one was harder. I'd put up photos from when she'd moved to Portland, pictures of us in my apartment, at restaurants, at parks. Happy photos that didn't show the darkness underneath. But at the end of that wall, I'd placed a black square with white text. "Here is where you lost your memory." And below that, a current photo of us, taken just last week. This is our second chance. Maya was crying now, tears streaming down her face. She walked slowly around the room, looking at each photo, reading each caption, piecing together the life she couldn't remember. "We had all this?" she asked. "And I don't remember any of it?" "You will," I said, though I had no idea if that was true. "But even if you don't, we're making new memories. Better ones." She turned to me and hugged me tight. "Thank you. Thank you for doing this, for being so patient with me, for loving me even though I can't remember." I held her, my own tears falling into her hair, and I thought about all the things this room didn't show. The fights, the control, the aggression, the cheating, all the ways I'd failed her. Those memories were locked inside me, a secret burden I carried alone. "I love you, Maya," I said, "and I promise I'll spend every day proving it." That night, after she went to bed in the guest room, I lay awake in my own bed, staring at the ceiling. I'd been given something impossible, a chance to start over with someone I'd hurt, without them knowing what I'd done. But the guilt was still there, heavy and constant, and I knew that eventually I'd have to tell her the truth. She deserved to know, even if it meant losing her all over again. But not yet, not when she was still healing, still adjusting. I'd wait for the right time, and until then, I'd be the man she thought I was, the man I was trying so hard to actually become. The next few weeks fell into a comfortable rhythm. Maya moved in officially, and we became a real couple. Or, at least, we looked like one from the outside. Every morning I'd wake up before her and prepare breakfast. Scrambled eggs with cheese, fresh fruit, toast with homemade jam, orange juice. I'd leave little notes around the house before shutting myself in my office to work. Good morning, beautiful. Hope your day is as amazing as you are. Did I mention I'm the luckiest man alive? Because I am. Thank you for choosing me. Every single day. She'd find these notes and text me heart emojis, or come into my office during my lunch break to kiss me and tell me she loved them. We were building something new, something that looked perfect on the surface, but underneath, I was carrying a weight that grew heavier every day. Maya returned to work at the daycare, the same one she'd been working at before the accident. Her coworkers were thrilled to have her back, and the kids had missed her terribly. She'd come home with stories about finger painting disasters and playground adventures, her face lit up with joy. This was her calling, working with children, and watching her in her element reminded me of why I'd fallen for her in the first place. We'd split household chores now. I'd cook because I'd actually gotten good at it, and she'd clean up afterward. On weekends, we'd clean the house together, turning it into something fun with music playing and spontaneous dance breaks. It was domestic bliss, the kind of relationship I'd always wanted but had been too selfish to maintain before. I started attending a church in Eugene, a small community church similar to the one in Portland that had saved my life. I invited Maya to come with me every Sunday, but she always had an excuse. I'm tired from the week. I need to catch up on laundry. I'm meeting my mom for brunch. I didn't push. Faith was a personal journey, and I knew from my own experience that you can't force it on someone. But I prayed for her. Every night, before bed, I'd pray that she'd find the same peace and purpose I'd found. I attended a men's Bible study group on Tuesday evenings, where we'd discuss scripture, share our struggles, and hold each other accountable. I told them about Maya, about the accident, about trying to be a better man. I didn't tell them about my past sins, not all of them. Some things were still too shameful to speak aloud, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. It was about 2 months into our new life together when Maya asked the question I'd been dreading. We were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, her head resting on my shoulder. During a quiet scene, she suddenly said, "Ryan, we've been together over a year, right? According to what everyone's told me? About 14 months, yeah. And no relationship is perfect. People fight, they disagree, they have problems." She sat up and looked at me. "But you've never told me about any of that. It's like you're showing me this highlight reel of our relationship, but you're editing out all the real parts. What aren't you telling me?" My stomach dropped. This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding. "Maya, I don't want to upset you while you're still recovering. I'm recovered. Physically, I'm fine. And mentally, I'm ready to know the truth. I deserve to know the truth, don't I? About my own life? Our life together?" She was right. Of course, she was right. Keeping the truth from her was just another form of manipulation, another way of controlling the narrative to serve myself. "You're right," I said quietly. "You deserve to know everything. So, tell me, what happened between us that was so bad you don't want me to remember?" I took a deep breath and started talking. I told her everything, about how I'd changed after she moved in, becoming controlling and jealous, about my drinking, about the night I hit her, the shame I still carried from that moment, about how things had gotten worse instead of better. She listened silently, her face growing paler with each revelation. Then I told her about Jessica, about the affair, about getting caught, about Maya's decision to leave me, about how I'd lost my job, hit rock bottom, found the church, and was trying to change when the accident happened. "You were planning to move out," I said. "You'd found a place near your work. You were counting down the days until you could leave. You wanted nothing to do with me, and I don't blame you. Everything I did, every choice I made, I deserved to lose you." When I finished, the silence was deafening. Maya sat there, tears streaming down her face, looking at me like I was a stranger. "You hit me?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Once. One time. But once was too many. I have no excuse for it. And you cheated on me? With someone from work?" "Yes." "But my mom said, she told me we were happy together." "We were, at first, before I ruined everything. Your mom didn't want to stress you out while you were recovering. Neither did I. But you're right, you deserve to know the truth." She stood up abruptly. "I need some air. I need to think." "Maya, no, don't, just give me some space." She grabbed her keys and left. I heard her car start, heard her drive away, and I sat there on the couch, my head in my hands, wondering if I'd just lost her all over again. She didn't come home that night, or the next night, or the night after that. On the third day, I got a text. Staying at my mom's for a few days. Need time to process. Those 3 days were torture. I prayed constantly, cried constantly, barely functioned at work. I'd finally been honest with her, finally given her the truth she deserved, and it had driven her away just like I'd known it would. On the fourth day, I heard a car in the driveway. I looked out the window and saw Maya getting out. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. She came inside, and we stood in the living room, facing each other across an invisible divide. I talked to my mom, she said, about everything. She confirmed it all. She said she'd seen the bruise on my face that time, how I'd tried to hide it. She said she'd never liked you much because she could see how you were changing me, making me smaller. I'm sorry. Let me finish. She held up a hand. I also talked to my pastor, my mom's pastor, about forgiveness, about second chances, about what God asks of us when someone hurts us. I waited, barely breathing. I'm angry, Ryan. I'm furious that you did those things to me. The version of me that experienced all that, she must have been destroyed. And I'm sad that I don't remember it, because maybe I need that anger, that hurt, to protect myself. I understand. But here's the thing. She took a step closer. I don't remember any of it. I don't have the memory of you hitting me. I don't have the pain of discovering your infidelity. What I have are the last 2 months of you being the most loving, attentive, thoughtful partner I could imagine. I have notes you've written me, meals you've cooked, the memory room you created, the way you look at me like I'm the most important person in your world. You are. My mom's pastor said something that stuck with me. He said that God specializes in transformation, that the person who commits a sin isn't doomed to be that person forever, that with genuine repentance and effort, people can change, can become new. Hope flickered in my chest, small but real. I had a dream while I was at my mom's house, Maya continued. I dreamed about us, about a little girl with your eyes and my smile. We were in a park, pushing her on a swing, and we were so happy. And when I woke up, I was crying because it felt so real, so right. She was crying now, and so was I. I don't remember the bad times, Ryan. I don't carry that trauma. Maybe that's a blessing. Maybe God took those memories away so we could start fresh, without all that weight between us. I'm not saying I've completely forgiven you because I'm still processing, but I'm saying I'm willing to try. I'm willing to believe that you've changed, that the man I've been living with these past 2 months is the real you. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. She hugged me back, tight, and we stood there crying together. I promise, I said into her hair. I promise I'll never hurt you again. I'll never be unfaithful. I'll spend every day proving that I'm worthy of this second chance. I believe you, she whispered, and I forgive you. Those words broke something open inside me. Forgiveness. Real, genuine forgiveness. I didn't deserve it, but she was offering it anyway. We spent that evening talking more, working through her questions, her feelings. I held nothing back. If she wanted to know something, I told her. Complete honesty, no matter how painful. Before bed, she said, I want to go to church with you this Sunday. I want to understand this faith that changed you. Really? Really? If it made you into the man you are now, I want to know more about it. That Sunday, Maya came to church with me for the first time. We sat together in the pew, my hand in hers, and I watched her experience everything I'd experienced months ago. The music, the community, the message of grace and redemption. Pastor Mike preached about the woman at the well, about how Jesus offered her living water despite her past, despite her mistakes, about how God doesn't see us as our worst moments, but as His beloved children with infinite potential for growth and change. When he gave the altar call, inviting anyone who wanted to accept Christ into their lives to come forward, Maya squeezed my hand. Will you come with me? She whispered. We walked to the front together, and Pastor Mike prayed with us. Maya accepted Jesus as her Savior, committing her life to following Him, and I stood beside her, tears streaming down my face, thanking God for this impossible gift. After the service, we talked with Pastor Mike. He was warm and welcoming, inviting Maya to join the women's Bible study group, offering to meet with us as a couple if we ever needed guidance. I can see God's hand in your story, he said. What the enemy meant for evil, God is using for good. You're both testimonies to his power to redeem and restore. Over the next few weeks, Maya dove into her new faith with the same enthusiasm she brought to everything. She joined the Bible study, started reading scripture every morning, asked 1,000 questions. And I watched her transform, just as I had, becoming more peaceful, more purposeful, more whole. We grew together, both as individuals and as a couple. We prayed together before meals, before bed, when we faced challenges. We attended church every Sunday, volunteered with the youth group, became part of the community. 6 months after Maya forgave me, I knew it was time. I planned a trip back to Cannon Beach, to the place where we'd first met, where we'd had our first kiss. Maya thought we were just taking a weekend getaway, a chance to relax and enjoy the coast. We arrived Saturday afternoon and checked into the same hotel where we'd stayed on our first date. The one where we'd booked separate rooms, nervous and excited about what might happen. This time, we shared a room. We'd been sleeping in the same bed for months now, our relationship complete in every way. We spent the day walking the beach, eating at the same restaurants, retracing the steps of that first weekend. Maya didn't remember it, but I did, and I told her stories about each location. This is where we got ice cream, and yours melted all down your hand. This is the gallery where you saw that painting of the lighthouse and said you wished you could afford it. This is the bench where we sat and talked for an hour about our dreams for the future. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I led her down to the beach. We walked along the water's edge, the waves lapping at our bare feet, the sand cool and damp. When we reached the spot where we'd had our first kiss, I stopped. "Do you know where we are?" I asked. She looked around, taking in the view. "Should I? This is where we had our first kiss. Right here, under a full moon, with the sound of the waves in the background. It was one of the best moments of my life." She smiled. "Tell me about it." "You were wearing a sundress, and your hair was down. The moonlight made everything glow. We'd been walking for a while, not saying much, just enjoying being together. And then you stopped, right here, and looked at the ocean. And I looked at you. And I knew I had to kiss you, or I'd regret it forever. And did you? Kiss me?" "I did. And you kissed me back. And everything felt right, like all the pieces of my life had finally fallen into place." I took both her hands in mine, and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. "Maya, I know our story hasn't been perfect. I know I've hurt you in ways that are hard to forgive. But these past months with you have been the best of my life. Not because everything's been easy, but because I've gotten to wake up every day and choose to love you better than I did the day before." I dropped to one knee, and her eyes went wide. "You've taught me what grace looks like, what forgiveness looks like, what love really means, and I don't want to spend another day without you as my wife. I want to build a life with you. I want to have that little girl from your dream. I want to grow old with you, serving God together, being better together than we could ever be apart." I pulled out the ring I'd been carrying in my pocket all day. A simple diamond on a gold band, elegant and classic, just like her. "Maya Rose Torres, will you marry me?" She was crying, nodding before she could even get the words out. "Yes, yes, of course, yes." I slipped the ring on her finger and stood up, and she jumped into my arms. We kissed there on the beach, in the exact spot where we'd had our first kiss, and it felt like coming full circle, like everything had led to this moment. When we finally pulled apart, she was laughing and crying at the same time. "I can't believe you did this here. This is perfect. You're perfect, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that I deserve you." "You already have," she said softly. "Every single day, you already have." We got married 6 months later, in the same small church where we'd both found our faith. It was a simple ceremony, nothing fancy or elaborate, just our families, our closest friends, and our church community. Pastor Mike officiated, and his message was about redemption, about second chances, about how God can take broken pieces and make something beautiful. Maya wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers. I wore a suit and cried through my vows. We promised to love each other through good times and bad, in sickness and health, for better or worse. And this time, I meant every word with everything in me. My cousin Marcus was there with Sarah, grinning like he'd planned the whole thing. "I told you she was single," he whispered as I walked past him toward the altar. "You're welcome." Maya's mom cried through the entire ceremony. Afterward, she pulled me aside and said, "I didn't think I'd ever approve of you two together. But I've watched how you love my daughter, how you've changed, and I'm proud to call you my son-in-law." The reception was held in the church fellowship hall, with music and dancing, and a cake that Maya and I had made together the night before. It wasn't professional quality, but it was ours, and that made it perfect. During our first dance, Maya whispered in my ear, "Do you think our daughter will have your eyes? You really think it'll be a girl?" "I know it will be. I've seen her in my dreams, remember?" A year after our wedding, Maya went into labor on a sunny Tuesday morning. I drove her to the hospital, coached her through contractions, held her hand through every moment of pain and fear and anticipation. And at 3:47 p.m., our daughter was born. 7 pounds, 6 ounces, tiny fingers and toes, a full head of dark hair. And when she opened her eyes for the first time, they were blue-gray, the same color as mine. Maya looked at her, then at me, and smiled through her tears. Just like my dream. We named her Grace, because grace was what had saved us, what had brought us back together, what had given us this impossible, beautiful second chance. The first few months of parenthood were exhausting and wonderful, and everything we'd hoped for. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, the overwhelming love that comes with holding your child for the first time. We figured it out together, learning as we went, supporting each other through the hard moments and celebrating the small victories. When Grace was 3 months old, Pastor Mike asked if I'd be willing to share our testimony during a Sunday service. He wanted the congregation to hear our story, to understand what God had done in our lives. I was terrified. Standing in front of people, admitting everything I'd done wrong, seemed impossible. But Maya encouraged me. "People need to hear this," she said. "They need to know that change is possible, that redemption is real, that no one is beyond God's grace." So one Sunday morning, with Maya sitting in the front row holding Grace, I stood at the front of the church and told our story, all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. I told them about my controlling behavior, my infidelity, my aggression. I told them about hitting rock bottom, finding the church, accepting Christ. I told them about Maya's accident, her memory loss, the second chance we'd been given. "I don't deserve any of this," I said, gesturing to Maya and Grace. "I don't deserve their love, their forgiveness, their presence in my life. But that's what grace is, getting what we don't deserve, receiving love we haven't earned, and that's what God offers all of us, no matter what we've done, no matter how far we've fallen." I talked about the changes I'd made, stopping drinking completely, going to therapy to address my anger issues, studying scripture daily, surrounding myself with men who held me accountable, learning to serve rather than control, to listen rather than dominate, to love sacrificially rather than selfishly. "The man I am today is not the man I was 3 years ago," I continued. "And that's not because I'm strong or special. It's because God took my brokenness and created something new. He didn't erase my past, but He didn't let it define my future either. He showed me that with His help, with genuine repentance and effort, transformation is possible." I looked at Maya, who was crying, holding Grace close. "And He gave me a partner who models grace every single day, who chose to forgive when she had every right to walk away, who believed in the man I was becoming, even when she couldn't remember the man I'd been." After the service, people came up to talk to us, men who struggled with anger, with addiction, with their own demons, women who'd been hurt by partners and didn't know if they could trust again, young people who'd made mistakes and thought they were beyond redemption. We listened to their stories, prayed with them, offered what comfort and wisdom we could. And I realized that our pain, our struggle, our story, it wasn't just for us. It was a testimony to God's power to redeem and restore. It was hope for anyone who thought they'd gone too far, messed up too badly, hurt too many people. As we left the church that day, Grace sleeping peacefully in Maya's arms, I felt overwhelming gratitude. Not just for my family, though I was grateful for them beyond words, but for the journey, for the falling and the rising, for the mistakes that led to growth, for the pain that led to purpose. "What are you thinking about?" Maya asked as we buckled Grace into her car seat. "Just how far we've come. How good God has been to us, even when we didn't deserve it." She smiled and kissed me. "Especially when we didn't deserve it. That's when His grace means the most." We drove home through the streets of Eugene, this town that had become our home, this place where we'd built our life together. And I thought about the young couple who'd met at a beach wedding, who'd fallen in love so easily, who'd had no idea what trials awaited them. I thought about the man I'd been, lost and angry and destructive. The man who'd hurt the woman he loved and lost everything in the process. The man who'd woken up in a vacant lot, robbed and alone and desperate. And I thought about the man I was now, a husband, a father, a child of God, still imperfect, still learning, still growing, but forgiven, redeemed, made new. That evening, after putting Grace to bed, Maya and I sat on our back porch, watching the sunset. She leaned against me, and I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't lost my memory?" she asked quietly. "Sometimes. I think about it a lot, actually. I probably wouldn't have forgiven you. Not right away, at least. Maybe not ever. I know. And you would have been justified. But then we wouldn't have this." She gestured to our house, to the baby monitor on the table beside us, to the life we'd built. We wouldn't have Grace. We wouldn't have this marriage. We wouldn't have this happiness. "Do you regret forgiving me, now that you know everything?" She was quiet for a moment, considering. "No, I don't. Because the man you were isn't the man you are. And the life we have now, it's worth the pain it took to get here." Does that make sense? Perfect sense. I think God knew what he was doing, she continued, taking those memories away, giving us a clean slate. It wasn't about hiding from the past. It was about not being imprisoned by it, about giving us the freedom to build something new without all that weight dragging us down. I kissed the top of her head. "I love you. More than I have words to express. I love you too. The man you were, the man you are, and the man you're still becoming." We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to purple to deep blue. Somewhere inside, Grace made a small sound in her sleep, and we both smiled. Our daughter, our miracle, our reminder that beauty can come from ashes, that hope can rise from despair, that love can conquer even the worst mistakes. As stars began to appear overhead, I sent up a silent prayer. A prayer of gratitude for the second chance I'd been given. A prayer of commitment to never take it for granted. A prayer for wisdom to be the husband and father my family deserved. And a prayer for anyone else out there who felt lost, broken, beyond redemption, that they might know the same grace that had saved me. Because here's what I learned through all of this. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to choose differently. It's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. The past doesn't have to define you. Your mistakes don't have to destroy you. And the person you were yesterday doesn't have to be the person you are today. Grace is real. Forgiveness is possible. Transformation is available to anyone willing to do the hard work of becoming better. And second chances, those beautiful, impossible, undeserved second chances, they're out there waiting for all of us. We just have to be brave enough to accept them, humble enough to admit we need them, and faithful enough to believe we're worth them. I was given a second chance I didn't deserve, and I spent every day making sure I was worthy of it. Not through perfection, because that's impossible, but through consistent effort, genuine repentance, and unwavering commitment to being better. If you're reading this, if you're hearing this, and you've made mistakes you think are unforgivable, please know this. You're wrong. Nothing is unforgivable. No one is beyond redemption. No situation is too broken for God to restore. It starts with honesty, admitting what you've done, taking responsibility for your choices, facing the pain you've caused. Then comes repentance, not just saying sorry, but truly changing, doing the hard work of addressing the root causes of your behavior. Getting help, building accountability, making different choices, and finally, grace, accepting that you can't earn your way to redemption. You can't work hard enough to deserve forgiveness. You simply have to receive it as the gift it is and let it transform you from the inside out. That's what saved me. That's what saved us. That's what can save you too. So if you're struggling, if you've hurt someone you love, if you're sitting in the wreckage of your own bad choices, don't give up. There's hope. There's help. There's a path forward. Find a community that will support you. Seek professional help if you need it. Turn to faith, to something bigger than yourself, to guide you, and most importantly, forgive yourself, not to excuse what you've done, but to release yourself from the prison of shame that keeps you from changing. You are more than your worst moment. You are more than your biggest mistake. You are a beloved child of God, created with purpose and potential, worthy of grace and capable of transformation. That's what I wish someone had told me earlier. That's what I hope, if you need to hear it, you'll believe now. My name is Ryan Chen. I'm a husband, a father, a follower of Christ. I'm a man who once lost everything and was given a second chance I didn't deserve. And I'm living proof that with God, all things are possible, even redemption for those who think they're beyond saving. Even grace for those who think they're too broken. Even hope for those who think they've gone too far. If I can change, anyone can. If my marriage can be restored, any relationship can. If my story can have a happy ending, so can yours. Don't lose hope. Don't give up. Don't believe the lie that you're beyond redemption, because you're not. None of us are. And that's the most beautiful truth I've ever known. Lord, I pray for anyone who needs to hear this message today. Anyone who's struggling with their past, their present, their choices. Anyone who feels lost or broken or beyond hope. Remind them that you specialize in second chances, that your grace is sufficient, that your love never fails. Help them find the courage to change, the humility to ask for help, and the faith to believe that transformation is possible. Guide them toward the life you've planned for them, the person you created them to be. And let them know deep in their soul that they are loved, they are forgiven, and they are never too far gone for your grace to reach them. In Jesus' name, amen.